40 years ago, Metallica released their Master of Puppets album and changed music forever. That title track is over 8 minutes of raw, intense, aggressive metal riffs. But in the middle of the song, there's a peaceful and serene interlude that'll warm the hearts of even the most hardened metal fans. When I first started learning guitar, I was completely obsessed with this section, and as I was learning it and practicing it, I used to think, how could any mortal human being ever write something this beautiful? But years later, I sat down to figure out exactly what's going on, and turns out I like it even more now, because this section perfectly demonstrates what it means to write in the minor key, and it's filled with simple, common sense, popular composing strategies that I think every musician should know. So today, I'd like to break this section down to different elements and techniques. Then I want to take those same techniques and apply them to make my own original music that hopefully pays tribute to Metallica without completely ripping them off. But to begin our analysis, we're not going to look at any notes or theory. We're just going to look at the obvious surface level context of where this section lives and how it fits into the grander scheme of the song. This section is obviously a huge departure from the rest of the song, which is mostly dominated by heavy guitars, fast riffs, aggressive yelling. Here we have slow stuff, we have clean stuff, we have melodic stuff. And in a long song, that contrast is really welcome. You know, you risk being one-dimensional if your 8.5-minute song is just thrashing out the entire time. But this isn't just a vacation for our ears. I think it serves a more important role in the context of the story that this song is telling. You don't need to be an English literature major to realize that this song is about drug addiction and how drugs can completely take over somebody's mind and soul. It's not a happy topic, and most of the mood of this song reflects that. Harsh, taunting, dominating. But part of doing drugs is also getting really high. And I'm pretty sure this section of music acts like that part of the story. A blissful and euphoric escape from all of the chaos that previously surrounded you. But just like a real drug high, it's ephemeral, lasting only long enough for you to get a tiny taste of that heaven before reality comes crashing in harder than it ever did before. So from a storytelling point of view, I think that this section is already perfectly poised to make a big emotional impact on us, just by the context in which it's serving the story. But now that that context is established, let's start looking more at the technical, musical level and see what kind of things we can learn that maybe we can apply for our own music. This entire section is just a repeated sequence, and that sequence takes up 16 beats. Now, normally when we see 16 beats, we divide them into groupings of 4, so 4, 4, 4, and 4. But this is a little different. We're going to be dividing things into groupings of 2, and sometimes 4, and sometimes 2. It'll make things a little weird. Take a listen. As I count through, the riff that they're playing in the background sounds like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see that? That all adds up to 16, but we didn't do it in a nice and easy way. We kind of chopped it into these weird groupings of 2 and 4. But since that all adds up to 16, it doesn't prevent Lars Ulrich from just blaring away at simple 4/4 rock pattern. So even though we're not playing cycles of 4, Lars Ulrich will be playing cycles of 4. He'll be playing a slow 4/4 rock groove with a halftime feel. So that means every 3 beat, he's going to be playing that snare drum. So I'll play the same riff again, but I'll count steady 4 over the top of it, and you'll hear that my counts get a little weird, and it's the good kind of weird. It's not the bad kind of weird, but we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And that's the principle that Lars takes. Just ignore the underlying metric structure, just plow away in 4/4. And this is the first technique that I want to steal from Metallica, is staying in 4/4 time, but splitting that 4 into something a little bit more interesting by using 2s and 6s and 4s and stuff like that, not just steady 4s. But how do we explain what I'm actually playing here on the guitar? Well, the easiest thing to do is let's write out the notes of the E minor scale, and with just those notes, you can create these chords. These chords from E minor are mostly what we're working with, but if you've ever watched my other lessons, or if you've ever taken my courses, or read my book, The Chord Progression Codex, you know that in any minor scale, like E minor, you're very likely to see the 7th note, in this case it would be D. You'll probably see that 7th note sharped, and that gives us a scale called harmonic minor instead. And with this 7th note, D sharp, we can build this wonderful chord, B major or B7, which takes us back to E minor. So that's a very important little thing here, is we're not just working with E minor, we're also working with E harmonic minor. That's very fundamental to the minor key, and it's exactly what we're going to see here in the chords that we're playing. For example, the first chord that James Hetfield picks through here is an E minor chord. That's my 1 chord. The next chord that James Hetfield plays is a D major. That's the flat 7 chord, we call it. And James Hetfield's also doing some suspensions there, which might sound fancy, but we're just flashing in other notes of the scale. We're flashing in this note E, which is obviously in the scale. We're also adding in this note G, which is in the scale. And that gives me little variations of D suspended. And then we go to a C chord. But once again, instead of just a regular C chord, we're kind of modifying it. We're grabbing this note D, which is in the scale, and we're playing a C add 9 instead of just a regular C major. All right? And this is another technique I want you to know. When you're composing chords in a scale like this, in a key, don't be afraid to just grab the other notes in the scale and throw them in your chord. You might end up with a weird chord name like C add 9 or D sus4, but you don't need to know the names of the chord. Just play a chord, add in any of these notes, see what happens, and you might end up with something pretty interesting, but also kind of hard to name. Now, this last section of music I don't think should be thought of as just chords. I think it's hard to describe that whole section as chords. So instead, just listen to what's happening on these low notes. The low notes are just playing A, and then B, then D sharp, and then G. So we just went from the 4 to the 5 to the 7, and then 3, 1. And on top, after every one of those little notes we played, we just played these notes, A and B. That's the 4th note of the scale and the 5th note of the scale. So we played a low 4th note and then high 4, 5. Then we played the low 5th note and then 4, 5. Then the low 7th note from harmonic minor and then 4, 5. So I think it's easier to think of this as just simple melodic music motion. We went 4, 5, 7, and on top of that, we just repeated these notes 4, 5, 4, 5 the whole time, and that gives us this little movement. And in this last moment, we really do have most of a B7 chord. We're missing the 5th there. B7's supposed to have an F sharp, but that's fine. F sharp, the 5th, usually gets dropped from chords. So it's pretty easy to call this last moment here a dominant chord, the 5 chord, the B7 chord. So do you get what's going on here? We're mostly in the key of E minor. Most of what happened here came straight from the E minor scale, but just a little bit at the end, we dipped our toes into the harmonic minor pool. And this is important to know, because we're going to look at the leads here in a second, and you'll notice that Kirk Hammett recognizes this too. Kirk Hammett's going to be playing mostly the E minor scale when it's called for, but over this section where harmonic minor is clearly being asked for, that's when Kirk Hammett plays the harmonic minor scale. And let's take a deeper look at Kirk Hammett's lead pattern right there. The first chord that is being played is an E minor chord, right? And we arpeggiate it down low like this. But that's a sustained arpeggio. That means we're playing the notes of the chord one at a time and everything's ringing out. What if we play the notes of an E minor chord and don't let them ring out? We get kind of a lead guitar arpeggio. So the notes of an E minor chord are just E, G, and B. And I can play those notes in many spots on my guitar. Kirk Hammett chooses to play those notes right here on his guitar. He's just playing the notes of the E minor chord. He's literally just playing an E minor arpeggio over the E minor chord. And guess what he does over the D chord? He just plays the notes of a D major chord. Here's the 3 notes of a D major chord. We have A, F sharp, and D. And then over the C add 9 chord, which we can think of as just as a C major, guess what arpeggio he plays? He plays C major arpeggio. So he's literally just matching, right? Here's the chord, I play the arpeggio. Here's the chord, I play the arpeggio. And that's a great strategy that works really well up until we don't know what chords are being played. Like I said, this last part is a little messy, and we don't know exactly what chords are being played, but we know that harmonic minor is being introduced in here somewhere. So what Kirk Hammett does is stops playing arpeggios and just starts playing the harmonic minor scale to add some interest there at the end and to match that dominant chord. So that's astonishingly simple to me. Just take the chord, play the arpeggio. When you don't know what the chord is, just play the harmonic minor scale. Now, while this is playing, there's also a harmony line being played. So Kirk Hammett recorded another part that fits in and gels with this absolutely perfectly. It's all diatonic thirds, and I'm not going to explain that here because I've already done it here on my YouTube channel, but if we think of the E minor scale and then just go up 3 notes in the scale, we're going to have the harmony that Kirk Hammett plays. And it sounds kind of weird on its own, but when you merge that together with the original track, you get this beautiful, wonderful merging of the 2 sounds. that arpeggio section repeats twice before a traditional guitar solo starts. And Kirk Hammett here kind of takes the same approach. He's using mostly the minor scale, lots of pentatonic minor, because every guitar player loves pentatonic minor, and then also using the harmonic minor scale at the very, very end of this section. But I want to comment that Kirk Hammett also just plays pentatonic minor sometimes when you shouldn't be doing it. And I explained this in my video, Pentatonic Possibilities, that even if your song is crying out for harmonic minor, just like this song was in that specific section, you can still get away with just playing pentatonic minor on top. It sounds good, it sounds bluesy, it sounds rocking, and it gets rid of some of that dramatic flair. So I just want to comment on that solo that he's not perfectly matching that harmonic minor scale all the time when it shows up. He's sometimes just ignoring it and just rocking out some bluesy pentatonics on top of it. So that's a lot of analysis and lots of theory, but how do we take these ideas and try to make original music with it? Well, here's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a metric structure. I want to start off with 16 beats, and I don't want it to be 4, 4, 4, 4. I also don't want to steal exactly what Metallica did, so what I'm going to do is this. I'll do a grouping of 4 and then 2, 4 and 2, and then 4. And that all adds up to 16. And I should be able to ignore the underlying metric structure, plow away at a halftime beat, and get something kind of wonky and interesting like what we heard here. Next, I need to write a chord progression in the minor key, but I don't want to pick E minor because that would sound too much like Metallica. So I'm going to pick the key of D minor instead. Here's the D minor scale and all the chords in that scale, and I'm also going to be flirting with D harmonic minor, and here's all the notes and chords of D harmonic minor. To begin, I'll play my 1 chord, which is D minor, and I'll actually play it as a suspended chord, which means that instead of D, F, and A, I'm going to play a D, A, and E. All right, so just a simple little variation of D minor. And I'll play that for a full measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. For my measure of 2, I only get 2 beats here. What I'll play is my B flat major chord, but I'll just let an E ring out as well. It's in the scale, sounds cool, sounds really dreamy. It's just a weird name now. The chord I'm actually getting is B flat major add sharp 11. Next, I'll go to the 4 chord, which is G minor, and once again, I'll let that E note ring out as part of my G minor chord. So that's going to give me something like a G minor 6th. Once again, you don't need to know the names of these chords, but you do need to know that when you start adding in notes from the scale that aren't in the chord, you sometimes get these weird chord names. After G minor 6 for a full measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I'll play an inverted D minor. So here's a D minor chord, but just with F on the bass. So I'm playing the notes of D minor, but I'm starting with a note F, then another F, then an A, and then a D. And then last, to get that harmonic minor thing going on here, I'm going to switch to an A7 or an A major, but I'll play it as A7. So my entire riff will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that all adds up to 16. So we should be able to add a steady 4/4 beat behind it. You need to become the ultimate Lars. What's your game plan going into this when you actually have to record it?
I'm going to go back in time, be born in Denmark instead of the United States of America.
Good start.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn drums, get real good at them, and then suck. I can't say that.
Now that that's written, the next step is to write a lead line. And what do? Just what Kirk Hammett did. Find the chord, play the arpeggio. We've got a D minor chord, so what am I going to do over that? Well, I'm just going to play the notes of a D minor arpeggio. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I have a B flat chord. What am I going to do there? I'm mostly just going to play a B flat note. And then G minor chord, I'm going to play a G minor arpeggio. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then finally, we have a D minor chord that's inverted, so I'm just going to play a D minor arpeggio again. Now, this A7 chord, just like Kirk Hammett, I don't want to play an arpeggio at the end. I'm going to play a scale run here, so I'm going into D harmonic minor. And that gives me this entire sequence like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4. And then it repeats. And just like Kirk Hammett did, I'm going to play that with diatonic thirds. So moving a diatonic third up in the scale, whether it's harmonic minor or natural minor, and I get a harmony line as well. Once that's over, I decided to write a solo section, once again being influenced by Kirk Hammett, playing mostly the minor scale, lots of pentatonic minor in the wrong spots, and also a touch of harmonic minor. Now, I didn't discuss what the bass guitar is doing in the original section because it's quite simple. It's mostly just focusing on the root notes of each chord. And that's pretty much what I did here. Just use those bass notes as references to the chord name itself. So if the chord is a D minor, I'm going to play a D on the bass. If a chord is B flat, I'm going to play B flat on the bass. That's mostly what I did here for this progression. So when we put that all together, what we get is an original piece of music that sounds suspiciously like Metallica. I think what we did here is some of the best practice you can use as a composer. Find a section of music you like. Analyze that section of music. Name and label all the things that you see there, all the things that you've learned about from music theory. Then take all those things you named and label and try to mix up those ingredients and make your own dish, your own stew using the exact same ingredients. And yes, you'll inevitably create something that sounds a little bit like your reference material, but you'll also end up with something original. But for someone like me who really struggled to write music, being able to even write a ripoff is a big achievement. And, as you get good at this, you can learn how do I make it not sound like a ripoff. Here, I chose to honor the reference material as much as possible, but it would be a very simple task to make it unrecognizable as a Metallica ripoff. I could have not picked the minor key. That now it won't sound like Metallica. Metallica only writes in the minor key. I could have avoided those constant arpeggios. That would have made it sound different. I could have avoided doing harmonies. That would have made it sound different. All sorts of different options that I could have done to disguise this, and no one would have ever assumed in their right mind that I just stole it from Metallica. If you like this video, you might like some of my other lessons, like where I reverse engineer Dream Theater, or where I analyze a section from Metallica's Orion. I actually owe you all a part 2 for that Orion video. And if you want to motivate me to post that video even quicker, well, like this video, subscribe to this channel, post some comments, and head over to my website. You can now sign up for $5 a month and get access to hundreds of videos you can't find here on YouTube. Lessons, live streams, composing sessions, and you'll also get lots of charts, MP3s, downloads, all sorts of goodies. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.